Financial freedom. What does that even mean? I think it means something different to everybody. But in this video, as I begin to talk about how I became financially free, I'm going to define financial freedom as having more income coming into your house than it costs you to live. Let's talk about that fun definition. If you're new to my channel, hello and welcome. My name is Kim Daly. I'm a franchise consultant, so this is not financial advice, okay? I'm a franchise consultant and I help people explore franchise opportunities. If you get inspired to begin your journey to find the perfect franchise that may help you find your path to true financial freedom, well, stay with me to the end of the video where I will share how you could be my next candidate. Okay, so let's talk about my journey of going from a traditional investor to an alternative investor who within 4 years was able to become financially free. So the heart of what I'm about to say to you is you need a business cash flowing vehicle. Now, I know you're on a franchise consultant's YouTube channel, so you're thinking, well, that's a self-serving statement. But listen, I didn't get to where I am because I was trading my time for money working for somebody else. I have been self-employed since I was 25 years old, and I'm a little bit older than 25. So owning a business is the way to true financial freedom. But what I'm going to talk about is the next level. What do you do when you have that business cash flowing asset? Maybe you've scaled it, you're building wealth, you can pay your bills, and you have extra money. That's what I want to talk about. So when you build your business to a certain point and you have this extra money, are you going to invest it like a traditional investor, like you did when you traded your time for money and you put that money in a 401k? Well, listen, I'm not judging you because that's what I was doing. That was the advice that I was given, and that's what I did. So for the vast majority of my adult life, I've earned money in my businesses, and every single year I would just max out my self-employed pension plan, which is the equivalent of a 401k. And then that money would be invested by my financial planner, who I would meet with once a year, and we would go over my goals, right? And I would trust that he was doing good things with my money, and I wouldn't think about it. And every quarter, I would get a statement that would show me how my investment was growing, and I would look at it and I'd toss it aside and be like, okay. And that was as much thought as I ever gave to my financial future. Now, you may be thinking, well, shame on you, Kim Daly, but come on. How often are you looking at your investment portfolio? You know why we don't look at it? Because we have no control over it. I had no control over it. So what good was it for me to look at it? Just to get aggravated that the stock market went down and my retirement went down, or get elated that the stock market was high and my investments look high? I couldn't do anything about it. So it was better to just be like, it's doing its thing. Someday it will become relevant to me, but not today. Well, in comes one person. So never say that one person can't change the world. He might not be able to change the world, but he can certainly change your world. And this particular person completely turned my world upside down, but all for the better. This was perhaps the wealthiest person I had ever met up close and personal. And I could tell very quickly that he thought differently about money just by the types of questions that he asked me. He used to be a traditional investor. He was one of those financial planner guys that managed people's money like I was having somebody else manage my money. But he realized he was the one making all of the money from all of the fees in that process and really not helping his clients build true wealth. And that's when he broke off, started learning about alternative investing, and now that's what he helps other people do. Well, within 4 years, I went from a person who knew nothing about her financial future, who just tucked that money away for the future, didn't think about the tax consequences, didn't think about why don't I have any control over that money, to a person who today is financially free, who has more cash flow coming into my house than I need to live off of. But here's the thing, I'm still working my business. Why? Because I freaking love it. So that means that I have even more cash flow coming into my house that now I can turn around into more cash flowing assets to create even faster velocity with my money, which means I can double down, I can triple down, and I can continue to invest and grow that cash flow coming back to me as passive income at a higher and higher rate. So let me back up and let me explain to you exactly what I did. Before I do it, I want to remind you, this is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. I have no license to do that. I am sharing a story with you with the hope that I can inspire you to want to think a little bit outside of that traditional box that told you to go to college, get a job, and save your money for the future. That life, it doesn't work. It doesn't exist. You know that it doesn't work. That's why you're on my YouTube channel. That's probably why you're thinking, God, I got to do something different. Maybe it's a franchise. What is a franchise? And you landed on Kim Daly TV. Well, the business is the heart of the alternative investor portfolio. So I do think that it is the first step to helping you move from trading your time for money, working for somebody else's dream, to working for your own dream. So you first need to think about moving your money from a 401k and investing it in yourself as a franchise owner. When you have that business up and going and returning cash flow to you, and you no longer need all of the dividends that are coming in, now this is what I did. This is where I found myself back in 2018, putting that money in my self-employed pension plan and not really knowing what to do with the rest. So I met this guy and he said to me, you need to start exploring alternative investments, investments in real estate, investments in self-storage facilities, investment in mobile home parks, investments in crypto even. Now, I knew nothing about any of these. So I was like, I'm super busy. I'm a mom. I got a business to run. Like, I don't have time to go become an expert in any of those things, which if I'm going to go put $50,000 or $100,000 into an investment like that, don't I need to become an expert on that? The answer to that would be yes. So I did the next best thing, which is called syndication. So I went out and I started meeting syndicators of real estate, syndicators of car washes, syndicators of storage facilities. These are people who are experts in those industries, who raise money from investors like Kim Daly, who want to be passive investors, and then who take the millions that they raise and they go buy that 300 unit apartment complex, or they go buy 10 car washes, or they go buy a self storage facility with my money. And they manage that and they pay me dividends. That's syndication. So I didn't know who to reach out to when I learned about syndication, but I found people who seemed knowledgeable, and with a little bit of due diligence, looking at their background, due diligence that would be very similar to what I would teach you to do in a franchise. I felt comfortable that I could invest some money with this person and invest some money with this person. I didn't give it all to one investment, but I did a little bit here and a little bit there. And I also didn't do it all at once. I did a little bit and I waited to see what would happen. And I did a little bit more and I waited to see what would happen. Now, I've won some. I've definitely lost some. So you have to be ready, just like in the stock market, that some of the money you're going to put in, you're going to lose. But I've won more than I've lost. And here's the super fun thing about this conversation. So because I was in this alternative investing mindset and I had money set aside that I was looking to invest, I 100% believe that is why an opportunity came to me to become an investor in a business. Now, businesses are always the best investments because business cash flowing returns are always the fastest and the highest, which is why everybody wants to own a business, which is why 99% of all millionaires own businesses because business cash flow is what we want. But prior to this time in my life, nobody had ever come to Kim Daly and asked me if I wanted to be an investor in their business. How funny is that? I was on the wavelength of I had set aside a pool of money that I was looking to invest in alternative investments and be a passive investor. And whoosh, along comes an opportunity to become a big investor in a very solid company. Now, I had to put a lot of money down, over 7 figures, but I scrambled and I figured out how to get it by even cashing out on some of my stock portfolio money because, after all, I had no control of it over there. And what would I rather have? A portfolio where I had no control and it was something for the future, or take the tax hit, take the cash, invest it in a business that would generate cash flowing returns to me today? Cash flow that I don't need, that then I could continue to add back to my little pile of money, now looking for another cash flowing asset to deploy that into. Well, I chose the latter, and that's what I did. And that one investment is really what tipped the scale for me and helped me to bring more cash flow into my home on an annual basis than I need to pay my bills. And that is the definition of financial freedom. That opportunity found me in the second or the third year that I started thinking like an alternative investor. Within 4 years, I went from, I have a financial future, I don't really know what it is, I'll deal with it later, to a confident alternative investor who's won some and lost some, but learned a ton, who feels totally in control of her financial future, who knows exactly how to move her money and in what type of vehicles. So now that I've tried some of these alternative investments, I've figured out what I like and what I don't like, where I'll put more money and where I won't put any more money, who I will invest more money with and who I won't invest more money with. So trial and error is still the name of the game, but if you're doing it a little bit at a time and you're not betting the farm, then you have that leverage of being able to take the time and the experience and then apply it to the next investment and the next investment. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind, I will never put any more money in the stock market. I still have a little bit in there. I never touched my self-employed pension plan. That's still over there doing its thing. But I'm definitely not putting any more money in my self-employed pension plan because I would rather have cash flowing assets that also create tax advantage for me. I haven't said one thing about the tax advantage, but there has been some amazing tax advantages with some of these alternative investments. And that's a really big deal when you're a business owner. Not that I don't want to do my fair share, but we all want to lower that tax burden. So if you can take that tax burden away today, rather than worrying about the tax in the future when taxes are only going up, I mean, that alone is the reason to not put aside money for the future, but to be investing it in cash flowing assets that today create tax advantage and today give you cash flow and allow you to have that feeling that I have now of true financial freedom. That's what you want. So if you are ready and you are inspired to begin your journey to either get to that first business in your portfolio that allows you to stop trading your time for money, to create the heart of your alternative investment portfolio, well, I want to be your franchise consultant. If you're already there and you're looking for your next cash flowing return, I also want to be your franchise consultant. And if this story has just inspired you to want to talk about some ideas about alternative investing, again, I am not an advisor. I'm not giving you any advice. I could share what I've learned in my journey, and I'd be happy to do that. But that's where this story ends. So if I can help you in any of the following ways, please feel free to follow the link in the description below, and let's start that conversation today. I want to help you find your own definition of financial freedom. I want to be for you what that one person was for me back in 2018. Although I may not be the wealthiest person you've ever personally known, I may know a thing or two that you don't know quite yet. that could help you get on the path to true financial freedom and wealth.